Hello everyone. So I haven't made a video since I came back from my meditation retreat, which was like 6 weeks ago or so. And I still get butterflies making these videos, but that's fine. I have become aware of a start-stop pattern that I have and how our mind operates. A lot of people I've observed, and including in myself, get very frustrated because they're like, I'm gonna eat healthy and do this thing for 30 days, and they go buy all this stuff, and then 6 days in, they break that commitment and go back to their old pattern. And I've done this 6 billion times, seriously, and I used to get very frustrated. So I've become aware that, in my experience so far, the reason that happens is because we all have subconscious programming, and we all have these thoughts in our head. So our subconscious mind we're on autopilot all the time operating, and consciously we'll make the decision, yes, I'm gonna eat super healthy for 6 days, or I'm gonna quit drinking, or quit smoking, or quit eating pie before bed, or whatever. And then a few days in, your thoughts start coming in, and they're like, well, you've done really good for 3 days, so you deserve a break, you deserve to reward yourself. Or you start getting strong, cravings. Because our thoughts create our emotions. So once one thought comes in, and gives you the idea, you should do this, and, one time won't hurt you, then 6,000 more thoughts come in until, you're completely in your head, and there's, at that point, no way that you're not going to do it. So I observed this pattern in my personal life. I would do that, and I would make a commitment, and then whatever amount of time in, it didn't matter, my thoughts would start kicking in and going crazy and telling me, just drink, just smoke, just eat this, just eat that. One time, it doesn't matter, it's no big deal, and I would get these strong urges. And I started to notice the pattern and realize that my mind is just doing what the mind does. It's trying to keep me safe and keep me doing what I've always done. And I started to become aware that anytime it would talk me into doing something, and then it would beat me up for doing it. So then I would feel bad and feel guilty and be like, oh my god, I'm never going to figure this out. And I would just be so hard on myself that then I would get depressed and sleep for a couple days, all because and this specifically has been for me with drinking, smoking cigarettes, and eating. When I was starting off eating cleaner, for sure. So that's the three main areas that's happened to me. 600 million trillion times. I'm not kidding. I have failed at quitting smoking cigarettes and failed at letting go of drinking, and I have failed forward so many times. But I started to become aware of the tricks of my mind, that it would talk me into doing it and then make me feel bad for doing it and beat me down until I was giving up and depressed for a moment. And once I started to notice that, I became aware of it. So then anytime I would fail and I would do the thing, I would become aware that my mind, I became predictable to myself. My own thought pattern became predictable to me. So then I would do something, and then I would become aware, and I stopped listening to my thoughts tell me, you suck, you're gonna fail every time, I don't even know why you're bothering, you should just give up, and, this is gonna be your whole life. And those are the kind of thoughts, it's amazing how badly our own thoughts can beat us up. So that's the first thing I did, is I started becoming aware that that's just what the mind is just going to do, what the mind does. So, and it takes practice. I just awakened a year and a half ago, and for the first long stint of that, I was basically failing. But what I would do is I would stop and observe what I was thinking that led up to that, and I would realize the thoughts that were going on after I did it. And so I think awareness really helps us to break free from patterns and helps us like stick to commitment. I wasn't sure when I started this video if I wanted to talk about commitment or addiction, but I guess it's just all going to get blended because it's all comes back to our thoughts, which in my experience, you know, they say control your thoughts. I don't know. I mean, that I don't know who that works for, but that hasn't worked for me. What has worked for me is becoming aware that thoughts are coming in and sitting back as the observer. And this may sound crazy, but we all have, I call it the voice in our head. You can call it your thoughts, whatever, but I was reading this book by Michael Singer called The Untethered Soul just this week. And he talked about visualizing your thoughts being another person, like outside of you. It could be a friend, it could be someone in your family, it could be whoever you want it to be. I visualized myself with a different hair color for some reason. And I added to that too. So when I visualize that, I think about one person outside of me that is me, it looks like me, that has red hair, and one that has like black hair. I don't know why that is, but I don't have just one. I call them Lucy and Ethel now, like, because they bicker in my head. Like, one will be like, you should do this, and you should just give up, and you know, it's always trying to suck me back into my conditioning and my patterns. And then the other one, the redhead, is always trying to talk the other one down. So there's always this debate. But not always. It's starting to dissipate a little, but this has helped me recently, just watching them talk and go back and forth. And me as the observer, I kind of picture myself in the background as I look, like, with my blonde hair, and I'm just silent consciousness, and I'm just watching them try to talk me into whatever, and the redhead seems to be able to, you know, calm down the other one to the point where, like, okay, I just watch them and observe them, and just them being seen seems to help it dissipate. Like, just me watching them is consciousness. And I do realize this could sound completely crazy, but it has helped me so much. Like, tremendously. Because when I do that, I'm disassociating from my mind. Like, that's the whole point of ego or our thoughts. It tries to convince us that that's us. But what we really are is consciousness, an indefinite souls, a slice of God, pure energy. And when you're able to observe your mind and your thoughts, you can feel that within yourself and connect to it. And when I do personally, I feel such love and peace, and I don't take my thoughts so seriously and so personally. I'm able to just observe them and watch them, and it seems to be that when I do that, they kind of just get quiet after a minute. It's like a part of me that just wants to be seen. And once I see it, it kind of quiets down. Of everything I've tried, this is like working the best for me. And you have to figure out what works best for you. But I spent a good deal of my life believing that I was my thoughts. And I have empathy for anyone who is in that space, because I know personally my thoughts were so, like, I was just so hard on myself. So hard on myself. And now when I think about that, that sounds crazy. Like, if it was a person outside of me saying the things to me that I spent years of my life saying to myself, if it was a financial advisor, you would fire them. If it was, you know, your fitness guru, you would fire them. If it was your best friend, you would not want to be their friend anymore if they talked to you the way that you talk to yourself. And I started to become aware of that and think, my God, just because these thoughts pop in my head, it doesn't mean that I have to believe them. I picked them up somewhere along the way. I don't waste any time anymore trying to figure out where something came from, a thought process, We all have conditioning and programming, and most of us have, had trauma and experienced all kinds of shit in our childhoods and whatever. So I don't have the best memory, so I could spend like 20 years trying to figure out where something came from. So I don't even bother. But yeah, I have empathy for anyone who is in that space. Just know that if your thoughts are beating you up or making you feel bad, it's okay. And if you're failing at something 10,000 times over, that's okay too. Like, life it really is a journey, and as time goes on, and every time we fail and figure out what doesn't work, we figure out what does work. So that's one thing I'm grateful for, even though I have failed like so many times in life at so many different things. I still eventually, after usually a little couple day depression and whatever else, I examine self-awareness and try to figure out what didn't work so that I can take a different approach and figure out what does work. And it has truly helped me to become aware that your mind will like squash your commitment. It'll come in 3 days later and tell you to do the thing, and it's very convincing. Lucy and Ethel are very convincing. And it's just doing what it does. And starting off Awakening, I would get very frustrated. Like, I used to have all kinds of not nice names for the thoughts in my head. And they were frustrating to me, and I just wanted them to shut the hell up so that I could connect to my soul and feel some peace. And that doesn't work. That didn't work. The more frustrated I got with my mind and my own thoughts, the louder they got. So, again, trial and error. What has worked is just observing them and just letting them kind of go by. They do dissipate and get quieter if you just see them. Some people call it your inner child. It is just a part of you that's wanting to be seen. And it would be just like your kid in real life coming up to you like, look at me, if you have one of those kids in your life, because I have. And you keep ignoring them, they just keep interrupting whatever you're doing, and they're just gonna keep on until you watch them, and then they go back to doing whatever they were doing, usually. So that's kind of how our thoughts and our mind work. So it's very interesting to me. So, and I mean, this is for like women too who feel bad about their bodies. It's so easy to look at someone outside of ourselves and see them as being so confident and so outgoing. People have perceived me that way my entire life. And I used to be like, never in my life would I be vulnerable or like say these things. So, of course, that's what people thought, because that's the only time I went around people, is when I felt, halfway confident, or if I didn't, I would just wear all black. So but I don't care if someone is a model. You cannot assume just based on your perspective of how someone looks that they're confident and have loving thoughts about themselves. And God bless the people who do, but I've had to learn, like, to not listen to my thoughts in my mind and to tap in to feel that love for myself. And starting off, I kind of went from Beyonce to Shrek, and this is kind of a funny story because when I go hiking for like 5 or 6 days in a row and I'm eating on point, I feel like Beyonce. So then I'll go around my family or, whoever, and I feel super confident. So I'm like, I go up to them, woo, can you tell that I look like Beyonce? And they always give me this blank look, which is so funny to me because to them I don't look any different. And then when I feel like a busted can of biscuits, because I've been, eating stuff that does not work well with my body, like, pasta, for instance, and I feel like a busted can of biscuits, I'll tell my mom sometimes, just lie and just tell me that I look the same. And she looks at me confused because to her I do look the same. So then I started realizing that no one can really tell the difference. Just like when I get my hair done, it always looks the same to everyone. what changes, whether I feel like Beyonce or Shrek, is what is going on inside of me. Like, if I'm listening to the thoughts, or if I'm not. You know, if I'm taking them seriously, or if I'm not. Because my mind does the same thing that, and men too. Oh my god, I've come across so many men, and I love the ones that are willing to be honest and vulnerable. Because men experience the same thing that women do. A lot of them, not all of them. You can't categorize everyone. There are some people that are just like super confident all the time. That's just not been my life experience. Everyone is different. I love those people. But men too feel like insecure sometimes, and you know, so it really it comes from within us and not taking our thoughts too seriously. Because I know I've looked in the mirror 50,000 times, like throughout my 20s. Are you kidding? I look back and I'm like, wow. You know, it's, well, you know, everyone does that. You look back and you're like, how the hell did you think for 1 second that you were fat or whatever? Because you were clearly thin as a bone. But I process that now and realize that in 10 years, I'm going to look back at this moment and feel the same way. And I don't want to spend any more, I don't want to waste any more time. Like, I've already had to make peace with that part of me that spent so much of my life, like, beating myself up, looking in the mirror and noticing the one, you know, little roll or the one wrinkle or the one whatever, and totally honing in on that and feeling so awful and like wanting to go to bed. That seems so insane to me now. And I perceive everyone outside of me as being so beautiful. Like, I see such beauty in people, but I was never able to, like, see that in myself. And, you know, so my whole life I've gone in and out of being, like, I've had moments of being confident, and then back to, like, wanting to wear all black and feeling like a busted can of biscuits. So, that, the difference comes, like, with us not taking our thoughts seriously. And I have a lot of nieces that I love so much, and they are so beautiful and perfect to me. And, you know, every woman in my life, and every woman that I come across, like, a part of my heart feels for them when I hear them say something, like, negative about their bodies. I know where that's coming from, and I know that it's not the truth. And so I wish for everyone to experience, like, truly connecting to themselves and learning that we're not our thoughts. Like, our ego, it tries to trick us into thinking that we're this and we're that, and we have all these labels, and none of that is who we are. We're not even our name. Like, we're just this beautiful consciousness and creation of God, and or the universe, or whatever you believe. And it's just perfect. It'd be like comparing one tree to another or one flower to another. They're all so beautiful, like, in their own unique way. And everyone is. And it's always been easier for me to see everyone else's beauty. And I'm learning and getting much better about being able to see my own. And, you know, it's really freeing when you learn that your thoughts are going to say what they say, and they're probably going to say the same things they said yesterday and the day before that and the day before that, and that's how we get into these patterns, and we're like hamsters on a wheel, and we keep doing the same thing over and over. And that's totally fine, because I've been the hamster like 10,000 times, but I begin to observe the pattern. And, like, if you really pay attention to what keeps you in a pattern, it's your thoughts. The same thoughts you had yesterday are the same thoughts you'll have tomorrow. And what helps them dissipate for me, and what helps start shifting consciousness and shifting patterns and things like that, is just observing the thoughts and paying attention. Like, we can't keep getting sucked into that same loop over and over. Well, we can, and we do, I guess, until we're ready to not, which is fine. But yeah, I've spent a great deal of time just observing, and to me it's kind of like a bike tire spinning. When a bike tire is spinning and you become aware that it's spinning, it still takes time for it to slow down and stop. So just because I become aware of a pattern, that doesn't mean all of a sudden I'm like, woo, shifting into like a whole new awesome pattern. I become aware of it and I watch things for a minute. And then I just start naturally, as I watch and observe my thoughts in my mind and the pattern, I just seem to like naturally start to slowly, the bike tire slowly starts to slow down. But it takes time, like, for it to completely stop because our thoughts have momentum. And once we've had a same pattern and thing that we've done for 20, 30 years, like, it takes time for it to like slow down and stop. So I encourage everyone to have empathy and patience with themselves. It doesn't matter how many times you have failed. My brother is sending me a text right now, as he has so kindly reminded me to make videos. He thinks they'll help people. So I'm getting ready to go hiking and hopefully find some wild weeds and plants to eat for dinner. But I thought I would make this video before I go hiking. So basically, I guess the point of my video is that we're all in this together, and it doesn't matter where you're at or what challenge you're having. You can like substitute drinking and smoking for whatever you got going on in life. Anything. Like, and that's my whole thing behind addiction too, is most people judge a person that has a serious drug addiction or like is overweight and eats 6 cakes a day or does this. Everyone, if you pay attention, has some sort of subconscious addiction. Not every single human, but the majority. Whether it's checking your phone 800 times a day, or using TV to zone out, or using food, or if you're a shopaholic and you use shopping to not deal with your emotions, like, you know, handling our emotions is not exactly something that we were ever taught. We're basically taught a bunch of useless shit in school that doesn't help us in life. So my real education didn't start until I was, like, in my mid-20s. Okay, my brother's messaging me again. That's fine. So we're all in this together and figuring it out, and I just totally lost my thought pattern, but that's fine. Yeah, addiction. So basically everyone has like some sort of subconscious pattern, and we have so many that serve us too, right? If you have the habit of getting up in the morning and drinking green juice or meditating or whatever, our mind can work for us and work with us when we learn basically how to observe the conditioning and our patterns that aren't serving us. Because then slowly we start implementing ones that are helpful and that do help us feel better and make life easier. But an addiction, it's an addiction. And nobody should be like hard on themselves, in my opinion. We've all been programmed in one form or another to compare ourselves to models. There's so much subconscious programming on commercials, billboards, every single app that you open with, you know, do this and buy this and eat this. And, you know, I don't pay attention to billboards. I don't listen to commercials. I'm very cautious about what goes in my mind because it doesn't matter how aware you are, our subconscious minds work the same. Whatever gets flashed in there all the time, you might be like, you don't even eat McDonald's and one day you're like, I should go get a double cheeseburger because you've heard it like 600 times. So just be aware that that is happening and try to be patient with yourself because this is a journey and life is always unfolding and can be like an up and down roller coaster. And so for everyone might not talk about it, but I don't know anyone that doesn't experience depression or anxiety or isn't trying to heal some trauma or who isn't awakening and going, you know, sifting through this right now or, you know. But I also know people on the other side that have been doing this work for so long that they predominantly feel like peace because they're able to just observe things and, you know, I kind of think of people as like weeds. Most people don't know this, but you can eat a lot of weeds, and I'm super getting into this right now. And to me, weeds, like, they survive so much stuff they grow through like the cracks in your driveway. It doesn't matter what crazy weather is going on, they're survivors and they have strong, strong roots. And I kind of think of people as the same, because once you have weathered some storms and you've been through some shit in life, like, you start to observe that it's always going to work out and it's going to be okay, and you always come out on the other side wiser and stronger and able to weather future storms more gracefully without getting sucked into like a woo tornado. So that's very freeing, because you know, you start responding instead of reacting. So it's actually a beautiful thing to eat weeds and to become a weed. Like, I love gardening too, but you know, if they're kind of, they know they're gonna get watered and they're a little bit baby, they're not gonna like weather very many storms, and they're gonna die. So for anyone who's been through some shit in life, just realize, like, we can't always see it when we're in it. Even I have a challenging time if I do get sucked into something, which is happening very, very rarely anymore. Like, I'm getting much better about seeing things quicker. I lost my train of thought again because I'm starting to get hot sitting in this car. Well, I think this was a pretty long video. And I just babble and take whatever you want from it. But I am committed to making videos, you know, and I even think I might start blogging again, because I also had started a blog and then my mind came in and bushwhacked me. And, you know, well, don't bother, like, nobody cares. And I just happened to get on YouTube a couple days ago just to see if anyone had ever even watched any of my videos, and I didn't care if anyone didn't. But there was a few views, and I don't know who watches them. So I decided, well, just in case they might help one person to know that you're not alone, I thought, you know, I'll keep making them and be more aware of my mind trying to bushwhack me. So, I don't know. I love people, and I want to see everyone, like, giving their gifts and doing what they love and spending their time in a way that's meaningful for them and loving themselves. And so I spend so much time doing all of this work myself to figure it out, so that maybe, you know, to live the best that I can in this life, and to maybe help, you know, a couple other people along the way. So I love you all, and I hope you're enjoying this beautiful day. Everyone keeps staring over at me because they probably think I'm talking to thin air in my car, but that's fine, because I actually talk out loud to myself all the time now, and it's just become a normal thing. I don't care. But, okay, I love you all. Enjoy the beautiful day.